Hello everybody, and in this video I am going to be showcasing this build that I made using the Fell Rush perk, or the new armor that dropped with the Blood Stratos update. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. Now, first off, we're going to start off with the weapon. Now, the weapon that I'm using is the Storm Splitter Blade and the Gust Iron Handle, giving me the Storm Rend and Whirlwind perks, respectively. And with it, I chose the weapon art Condensed Star, which really makes this build very fun, so make sure you are using Condensed Star. As for some other specifics, such as the race, I am running the Kitsune race with this build. You can run the Orc race if you want, but I would recommend Kitsune because it makes the build work very well. And I'm also running the Cursed Guild, so I would recommend running that, though you could experiment around with the Mage Guild if you really wanted to. Now we'll go ahead and get into the armor set. Now the armor set's very simple. We have 3 legendary Fallen Seraph armor pieces. Now these give me an air boost and a hex boost, which boosts my Fell Rush damage, as well as me having 3 of these gives me a lot more Fell Rush damage. So that's the general idea. And we have the Gastric Winds rune here with the quick enchant to give ourselves a little bit more attack speed to make sure that we can get our Fell Rush up as soon as possible, as well as giving us a little bit of air boost and a little bit of hex boost, which just increases our damage in general. And then here I have a quick Blessed Sharp Ring. This is just a temporary double enchant. But this gives us the Sharp Claws enchant, which paired with our Fell Rush works out really, really well because the Fell Rush perk can guard break. Now, the whole idea of this build is to abuse Fell Rush. Whenever we inflict a debuff onto an opponent, it inflicts another debuff, which is this black line that links us to the target that we hit. And then whenever we right click, we're going to teleport to them and do a bunch of damage. Some important notes here is that Fell Rush does not go through obstacles. So if you are obstructed by a bush, a wall, a tree, anything, it will not teleport to them, and the link will sever the second that you right click and you don't make contact. But if you do and you end up making contact, then it will reapply the link thanks to the Sharp Claws perk. And then with our infusions, we are running Bloodthirsty, which is going to be 3 Winter Woof, which will allow us to get a bunch more damage and more sustain that way. And in general, it's helpful. And yeah, the whole idea of this build is we want to mark, I call it marking, we want to mark them with a debuff, and then hold down right click while also running backwards. I'll go ahead and show you what I mean here. So there are a few ways you can actually get your damage. I'll show you 3 examples. One of them being the Condensed Star, which is the main way. It gives you the most range. It also applies both bleed and the armor break from Storm Rend. You want to right click and you will teleport to them. And then you want to back up and hold down right click thanks to the new update. And then you can actually get some pretty solid DPS. And it fluctuates between 250 to 400. But even then, I think that's pretty solid in general. And another way that you can approach is actually just by walking up and clicking right click. Boom. That'll apply bleed. And then you can just hold down your right click and back up as well. Now I'm also doing something hidden, which I learned while experimenting with this, is if you right click and as you teleport to them, you want to back up, press shift and jump. This gives you the most amount of damage. So as long as you're holding it down, you can get a lot of damage out of it this way. I'm also kind of hitting that NPC, so ignore take like 30 damage away. And you want to make sure you are pressing shift as you land, because if you don't, you're just going to start walking, which can really hinder the DPS. If you're just walking, you don't get as much because the damage of this perk scales on how far away you are from the opponent. As you can see, the further away I am, the bigger the explosion is. But if I'm super close to it, it's barely that big at all. And the explosion and distance affects the damage. And one other way that you can actually apply this debuff and actually engage your opponent is by using your rune. Now, because of how Whirlwind works, what Whirlwind does is that it converts Tailwind into Whirlwind, which gives you a few boosts, which are all very, very helpful, lowers your weapon art and rune cooldown, and has a longer duration. And if we use a rune or weapon art, we have a little AoE wind blade that comes around us. So I'll show you it right here. See that little blade that appeared all around us? That's the AoE wind blade. And if we pair that with the low cooldown of Gastric Rune, plus it's funny, gives us the most boost possible. And if we pair it with that, it'll apply the bleed, which actually applies the link. So then boom, you can start the combo off of the Gastric Winds rune, which is usually just a rune you use for boosts, but not today. It's actually pretty useful. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you some fun examples of ways you can use this build. And one of them is hitting enemies from a very far distance. So let me say I go throw my condensed star at that dire bunny, and I back up, jump, I'm going to teleport right to him and just blow him up. That's what makes this build really, really fun to me. And I'll also show that you actually cannot hit opponents or targets if you are behind something. So this bush, for example, I will stop on this bush. Notice how my black link is now gone. Like this. See, I don't teleport because there's something in my way. But one hidden tech you can actually learn about is, let's say you're hiding from something like a Dragagator. You can then throw the condensed star as it goes through any structure, and then you can just teleport to them right after. And it ends up being really, really cool that way. And that's what mostly why I love this build, because you can just mark them with your condensed star, back up, and then teleport. Easy peasy. Now, while giving my final thoughts, I'll have some of the dungeon footage that I got. I was doing a dungeon with my friend using this build, and I'll go ahead and show you in the background while I'm talking about it, basically how it works. And this build was really a fun idea that came to me, and originally it wasn't anything like this. I was going for like a curse steal build, but I quickly experimented with it and realized that it doesn't work because you remove the bleed before curse steal procs. So then that got scrapped immediately, and then I sat down and I thought to myself, what could I do that could make this build fun and exciting? And when I was building it, I came to the conclusion, I originally had gilded wind iron handle, not gust iron. And I thought because Rapier's M2 is really quick, this would work. But Rapier's M2 is really weird with how it works with Fell Rush, because you'll teleport to them, but you'll be directly on top of them. And the Rapier M2 moves you forward and then kind of attacks. So it did not work in the slightest. You would have had to flick your mouse and turn around. So I ended up going with the Gust Iron handle, which allowed me to get the Whirlwind, which was such a life changer for me. And then I always was going to have Storm Splitter as my main thing of damage. So I'm just glad that I came to that said conclusion. And overall, this build's really, really fun. If you're looking to have a fun time with this perk, I'd recommend using this. It's very fun. And the sustain definitely is not the best, so I wouldn't recommend using it if you want a good sustain. But it's very fun. DPS-wise, it's not bad. I consider like 300 to 500 DPS a solid build as long as it has recovery. This does have a little bit of recovery. So what also makes this build work is you can't just go with a complete max speed, attack speed thing. You know, you can't just have like 5 revved, 1 fell rush, you know? You can't do that. There is a slight cooldown between your fell rush procs. And with 2 quick and Kitsune, it actually allows you to hit them the moment that the cooldown goes, like comes off. As long as you're holding on right click, backing up, you are hitting them the moment you possibly can. Maybe you could get another quick in there, but I don't know if you can afford getting rid of Legendary. But I would like to know if anyone else has experimented with this and found anything else that's pretty cool. But so far, this is my favorite way to use it. It feels just like how you would play an Assassin in like a MOBA or something like that, where you mark an enemy with like a ninja star, and then you teleport to them, and then you blow them up. You literally blow them up. And this build's also really, really quick, so it's nice and nimble to avoid enemies that are trying to hit you, like Dragagators. It's really, really good into Dragagators because as soon as they go for their fire breath, you just right click as they're blowing their fire, teleport to them, and they just get blown up. This build can actually one-shot Dragagators, which is absolutely incredible. And generally, this build is really good for just a hit-and-run playstyle. So if you're looking to just hit people and get out of there, you're all good to go. The close-up fighting styles with your RMB and your Gastric Rune is also really good. And if you want, you can even use Weakening Roar Rune, but you would lose out on a little bit of damage because since you're not Curse Steel, you're not really getting that damage that you're looking for. But you would have more of a support option in that regard. And generally, if I was to rate this build out of 10, I go with an 8, in my opinion. I think it's really, really fun. Like, fun factor is 10. Viability is probably like 7, 6-ish. And, like, DPS-wise, probably like not a 3, but like a 5, probably. It's fine DPS with how the meta in Voxlblade is today. Anything that's not 40,000 DPS is considered terrible. But in my opinion, you don't need to one-shot things in this game to have fun, because the boss fights and fights in general in this game can be very engaging and fun as long as you're not one-shotting things. But this can one-shot normal mobs and honestly makes for a very fun farming experience. And you can even experiment with other guilds like the Mage Guild if you want to be able to hit a target, then instantly condense star to another one, which would also lower your weapon art cooldown even more with Whirlwind, so you can like constantly be teleporting around, which honestly sounds awesome. That sounds really, really fun to do. And yeah, hopefully that you all enjoyed. And to returning viewers that don't know what's going on, hi. I know this is a bit weird, but I really wanted to do something like this because this was just a really fun idea for a build that I had. And I just hope that you all enjoyed it. And people that are returning to my channel end up playing this game and falling in love with it like I have. Because I don't really post different types of games that often. I usually just stick with Looming Legacy. And people that are from Voxlblade, hey, you can go check out Looming Legacy. It's a pretty fun creature capturing game. It's been getting a lot of good quality of life updates, so you would probably have a very fun time playing it. And if you want to learn how to play PvP in that game, you could totally watch some of my videos. And overall, thank you all for watching. And if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It is very helpful. And if anyone wants me to do a different video every so often after my daily upload, I'm totally up to do that. I'm just having fun, and I thought this was something that I wanted to try out. But yeah, hopefully that you all enjoyed. And with all of that being said, I will see everyone in the next one. Bye-bye!